Hi, this is Eddie Hearn, and you're watching Lights Out.
This is Lights Out. I am Faisal Khan, and welcome to episode 4 of the Lights Out Boxing Podcast. And I'm delighted to be joined by Ron today, Mohsin Gulsher. Ron, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you here today, mate.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, let's get cracking. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Follow us on all social media. Links are in the description for our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. So yeah, you know, like I said, if you haven't already, make sure you've subscribed to the channel and keep an eye out on us for social media. Right, anyway, moving forward, we can start the podcast by talking about a number of things. You know, the fact that my beloved football club become European champions for a 6th time. We can talk about Pakistan beating England. We can talk about Theresa May retiring as, you know, Prime Minister of England. We can talk about so many things, but we've got to talk about what happened in New York City at Madison Square Garden last Saturday night as Anthony Joshua was knocked down in the 7th round by Andy Ruiz and lost his world titles. Yes, I'll repeat it again. Anthony Joshua is no longer world champion after he was knocked out in the 7th round by Mexico's first ever heavyweight champion of the world, Andy Ruiz. Ron, am I right to say that this is probably the biggest upset in boxing history?
And I most definitely think it's up there. But rather than focusing, I'd like to start off, but rather than focusing on how much of a shock this is, we've got to sit here and give credit where it's due to Andy Ruiz Jr.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I mean, it's a fantastic performance. I mean, this guy, nobody gave him a sniff of a chance. You know, he was laughed off. There was memes about him, about his physique, his kind of just everything about him. You know, he was not credible as a fighter. And this boy, did he come and make a statement here?
Gosh, yeah.
I mean, he was 25-1 on. I mean, if you put 100 quid on him, yeah, I mean,
100%. I agree.
And you know, and I've got to. I mean, Mexico has been blessed with amazing boxers throughout the history. We've got the Canelos right now. We've got De La Hoyas. We've had Barrera, Morales, Chavez,
Jaime Munguia right now. You know,
do you know what I mean? I mean, but heavyweight. You know, people laughed at a heavyweight Mexico. You know,
do you know what the Mexican national anthem is?
No.
I was going to say just in tribute to Andy Ruiz Jr. Let's just bust it out. But heavyweight boxing is no joke. We've seen upsets happen in the past. You know, you think of Buster Douglas against Mike Tyson, Hasim Rahman versus Lennox Lewis. You know, this has happened before, but no one expected this to happen. You know,
it wasn't in the script.
It wasn't in the script.
You're not following the script. That's
This is like an Istanbul in 2005.
Oh my God! Come on.
Do you know what I mean? This is like one of them Steven Gerrard moments against West Ham in the FA Cup final, the last kick of the game, 3-2 down and bang. Well, anyway, I should stop talking about Liverpool because we are talking about boxing. Ron, it seems as if to me that there's so much speculation surrounding this defeat for Anthony Joshua. Was he 100% fit going into the fight? Did he have a panic attack in the dressing room before the fight? You know, why was he getting his head massaged before the fight? Why was he saying in the 6th round, you know, why am I feeling like this? We're not going to take away the fact that Andy Ruiz put him on his ass. You know, we're not going to take away the fact that he was knocked down. But these are questions that need to be asked, and especially with what's happened in the past in boxing. You know, tragic death for Scott Westgarth. You know, of course, Jeremy McClellan, everyone remembers what happens to him. You know, was unfortunate enough to have suffered them horrendous injuries. You know, fighters have lost lives in the ring. And one of the main points I want to focus on in this podcast is today. If Andy Joshua has gone into this fight not 100% fit, if he has had a panic attack before the fight, and the likes of Eddie Hearn and the doctors have allowed this fight to happen, what does this say about Eddie Hearn and, you know, medicals about letting this fight happen? Letting this fight go ahead when this guy's clearly not in the right frame of mind to fight?
I mean, look, first of all, you know, as Eddie Hearn, as great as a businessman of the years,
for what he's done for boxing,
British boxing, what he's done with Anthony Joshua's career to date. You know, he's made him a full weight division. You know, not full weight.
He holds
4 titles. Yeah,
held 4 belts.
Held. Sorry, past tense now.
Former British champion as well. Former Commonwealth champion. Yeah, let's not take that.
But he had the duty of care.
Yeah,
and he needs to make sure his fight is fit enough to step into that, you know, that square kind of mat, and he is prepared to be facing. I mean, forget all the jokes, all the memes. he's an athlete. You know, he's an
athlete.
He's an athlete.
And he's
there.
only lost once as well, so he's no joke of a fighter.
He's no joke.
He's definitely
and
not as a world champion.
Well, he was determined to knock him out, and which he did. You know, he kind of stopped him. But, you know, he had a duty of care to make sure his fighter was 100% correct. And, you know, we saw Anthony Joshua's father. You know, he wasn't saying kind words to him at the end.
So much speculation surrounding this.
But to his credit, Joshua has not allowed that to be used as an excuse for his non-performance against Andy Ruiz Jr.
If the rumours are true, and if it does come out that Anthony Joshua did suffer a panic attack before the fight, then, and I'm not saying these rumours are true, I'm just going by what they are at the moment, they're rumours, but they're strong rumours, and if the rumours are true and that Anthony Joshua has gone into this fight not 100% fit, I think it is an absolute farce and a disgrace to boxing. Absolute disgrace. And for people that are, that listen to our podcast, this is not me saying they're true. This is me saying that currently there are rumours, they are strong rumours, but if they are true, it's a disgrace to boxing. Let's move on. I mean, that's one point we look at for why Andy Joshua may have lost that fight. Another point, Ron, was he too big going into the fight?
I mean, there's been that level of criticism at him, not just this time in his career, but against him in previous fights, against Takam.
Yeah.
They were saying he was way too heavy and that affected his endurance and stamina later on in the later rounds in the fight. And lucky for him, he got stopped, in my opinion, a bit too early. But in the fight against Ruiz, he looked gassed out after the third or fourth round.
A very tired fighter.
You know, he was just waiting for that bell to go.
Andy Ruiz took this fight on 5 weeks' notice. Anthony Joshua was training for it, I think, many weeks before that. I can't remember when obviously his camp started. And
another point I want to make as well is the gap in between fights.
From September to
he was at Pulev, he was
Povetkin,
my apologies. He fought him in September 2018 and we're in June.
That's 9 months.
That's 9 months.
That's
you could have a baby in that time.
Yes.
And, you know, for me, he's not active enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to have seen him in earlier, maybe February, March, get a fight out then, and then get another fight out. I mean, you should be aiming for at least 3 fights.
I mentioned the whole, weight issue, being too big issue, because Andre Ward, one of the great fighters of our, in our generation, tweeted after the fight, and this is what he said: "He's the truth. He's just built all wrong. He's got too much muscle mass. He's too worried about looking like a model on Instagram instead of being in the boxing gym working on his craft." Very strong words from Andre Ward, but Ron, when you read that, does that not kind of hit home? If Andre Ward is saying that about the former heavyweight champion of the world, then maybe we should all take notice that perhaps Andy Joshua is built in the wrong way.
I can't really disagree too much with someone of experience of Andre Ward. He knew a thing or two about boxing, didn't he?
Yes, of course, 100%.
Was he built too much of a... I mean, Tyson Fury's always used that to kind of ridicule him.
He's a big dosser.
He's a big dosser. He's a bodybuilder.
He's a bodybuilder. But he's got a big cock as well. I hope I've not offended anyone by saying that.
But if we look at the past of other boxers, I mean, like, if we look at Holyfield, Holyfield was a cruiserweight, wasn't he?
Yeah, cruiserweight.
But he blew up to a heavyweight. But he was, he had that kind of same kind of physique, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we look at the current heavyweights, Tyson Fury, he's not aesthetically pleasing to look at, but he's effective at what he does.
I think Anthony Joshua he's just struggled ever since the Klitschko win. I mean, he's not really looked the same. There's the struggle against Takam. The Joseph Parker fight wasn't as what people expected it to be. The Povetkin fight, he in the Povetkin fight, he suffered a broken nose. He lost quite a few of the rounds. I just think Anthony Joshua's he's just too big right now. And you look at the current heavyweights, Dillian White's doesn't have the biggest muscles in the world. Neither does Deontay Wilder, and Tyson Fury's never had the most sexiest body to look out for. So I just think he's got it all wrong in terms of how he looks with all these big muscles. Maybe he's got perhaps lose a few stones and lose a few pounds and get himself sorted, because going into the rematch is going to be tough. I mean, but he just looked gassed, Ron. I've got to agree with you, mate. I thought he looked very gassed in that fight. He just did not look himself. But again, lots of speculation surrounding this shocking defeat.
It's clear that his team need to reevaluate here now. Go back to the drawing board and learn from mistakes. Something that has been creeping up in his previous fights, about his kind of how much muscle mass he has. Does that affect him throwing punches? There were rounds where he was just using that jab. I mean, the reason why he was using that jab is just because he was tired. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to engage. And I think Ruiz was just waiting for that opportunity to get in the inside.
He should be thankful that when it's not 15-round boxing anymore, Ron. But we all know who's a 15-round fighter, don't we, Ron? Do you want me to? Or?
Go on then, let's hear it.
Well, as Jim McDonald would say, let me tell you who's a 15-round fighter, Ron. Do you want to know who's a 15-round fighter? Tell me who's a 15-round fighter. James DeGale is a 15-round fighter. There's a reason why I lost that fight to Eubanks. You want to know what the reason was?
What was that?
It was not because it was a 12-round fight. It was because it was a 15-round fight. He had the best. Anyway, that's enough of the impressions for one day. But he's not a 15-round fighter. James DeGale is a 15-round fighter. Yes. We'll move on. We'll move on and... again, Andy Ruiz tactically wise got his spot on. The counter punch worked brilliantly for him. And do you know what? Even when let's look at it from this way. Andy Ruiz was knocked down in the third round. Let's not forget that. He could have easily have just, gone into a shell and just could have got knocked out. But no, he recovered well and he put Joshua twice on the floor in that round. The same round, he was knocked down. And that's first ever time he was knocked down as well.
But let's just rewind. When he was knocked down, as a fan, you probably thought, here we go. Here we go. This is what we will.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what you expected to do. This is it. The fight's can be finished. Referees will wave it off.
Yeah.
But to his credit, he got up and he dropped him twice. And that was the first time Andy Ruiz Jr. had ever been dropped in his career. So that was a shock to his system. It's an unnatural feeling for him because, he's never been in that situation. But he dug deep.
100% the signs of a great fighter. Getting knocked down in round 3, especially in heavyweight boxing, by a guy like Anthony Joshua and to come back and...
It wasn't a heavy knockdown. It was like it seemed like a bit more of a...
I've noticed some sort of a pattern though, Ron, with Anthony Joshua. I mean, I remember in the second round against Dillian White, he literally had Dillian White beaten and then all of a sudden he gets hit and he ends up losing that round and could have potentially lost the fight. Then Klitschko in the fifth round, when he fought Klitschko, he knocks Klitschko down in the fifth. And then he ends up nearly losing the fight.
Do you think that's down to complacency?
I just think he punches. I just think that's down to fitness. I don't think Anthony Joshua... I mean, a fighter is most... Listen, if you want to know who's a dangerous fighter when he's just scored a knockdown and his opponent's got back up, is Deontay Wilder. Because when Deontay Wilder knocks down an opponent, you know for a fact that it is a horrible time for that opponent to get up. Anthony Joshua's the total opposite right now. He's knocking down opponents and then he's almost losing the fight himself. So that's something that Ron McCracken and his team are going to have to work on if that happens again in the future, because fighters are going to be thinking that, well, hold on, if Andy Joshua knocks me down and I can get back up, I shouldn't be too worried because we've all seen what he's like after scoring a knockdown. He's not the greatest and he's going to punch himself out. We'll move on and Omar Farooq, who, works closely with Lights Out, is going to have to eat a lot of humble pie, aren't you, Umar? He had this to say, especially after giving Andy Ruiz no chance whatsoever going into that fight.
My reactions on the fight are as follows. I'm still hoping that I'm stuck in a nightmare and I'll wake up in the morning and Anthony Joshua is still the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world. However, that is not the case. Andy Ruiz has shocked the world. He shocked me, he shocked you, he shocked everyone who's listening right now. We didn't give him a chance. I certainly didn't. If you've listened to the first podcast, I thought the fight was a joke. But what can I say? He's done it. He's done it somehow. He knocked Anthony Joshua out. I mean, I'm still in a state of shock. I don't know what to say to you. The last time I was this shocked, I learned Donald Trump had become president. I mean... I used some analogy last time, but this time the analogy I can use is like walking into a dessert shop looking forward to a nice piece of cheesecake, but all you're getting is a slobby piece of humble pie. And I've been eating humble pie since the fight, and I must have put on 2 or 3 stones in the process. But the fact is this: he's the champion. He's gone from zero to hero in a matter of days. I've been talking to some of the Mexican fans this week, and some of the Mexicans didn't know who he was, and now he's a national hero. The man's fortunes have changed. However, now the question is, where does Anthony Joshua go from here? Does he go for a direct rematch? And if he goes for a direct rematch, it's a must-win for him. If he loses, again, I'm afraid that's Joshua's career over. No one's going to take him seriously. The reaction from the heavyweight world says it all. To some extent, I believe Deontay Wilder is making the most of this situation at the moment, with some of the things he's saying in the media. But listen, I don't think lightning can strike in the same place twice, okay? Anthony Joshua is going to go back to the drawing board. He's going to regroup. He'll come back, and I think he will give us the result that we were all expecting. the team is going to have to think about the way they're going to handle this, because if they rush into a rematch, like I said, it could be the biggest mistake Hearn and Anthony Joshua do. There are talks of probably a tune-up fight before the rematch, or they might go into a direct rematch in November. I'd like to see how this plans out. Is he going to do a Tyson Fury and take a tune-up fight before he goes into the Deontay Wilder fight? It's exciting times. It's exciting times. It's confusing times. I don't know what to tell you. It goes back to what I was saying in the first podcast. This is legacy. Every fight you fight is for your legacy. And unfortunately, Anthony Joshua will have this on his record. And people will always refer to that night in New York where Andy Ruiz, the Snickers man, beat the tank Anthony Joshua. What happens next? I don't know. What happens next? It's exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Very interesting comments from the guy that gave Andy Ruiz no chance.
Well, I'm glad he's kept his house and his mortgage, and he's not living on the streets just yet.
Definitely, definitely. Could that have obviously been a factor? The fact that maybe no one gave Andy Ruiz a chance. Do you think maybe Joshua himself might have got a bit complacent?
I mean, there is always that, but the way Joshua spoke to the lead up to the fight, he wasn't talking about Deontay Wilder. He wasn't talking about Fury, as some people might have done in his position. You know, he was focusing solely on Ruiz Jr. I believe, you know, when that fight was cancelled with Jarrell Miller, they knew in good time, before it had been made public, that you were fighting Ruiz Jr. Because like you said, there was that text message that, on Twitter.
Instagram message.
Or Instagram or Twitter, whatever it was, that he had contacted. And, you know, they knew this is a potential opponent. So if he was complacent, then that's naive of him. You know, as phenomenal as he has been, you know, in his career. You know, you can remember, he's only had 20-odd fights and he's a world champion.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, you know, quite often that we've heard with past champions in that, you know. There's only, you know, there's a few elite that have achieved something like that. So if he was doing that, and that was his big mistake, that was his first mistake. I mean, like Mike Tyson when he lost against
Buster
Douglas. I mean, there's a lot going on there in the background, you know, about Mike Tyson. But same here as well as is speculation, but speculation is
just so much.
It adds to the drama, doesn't it?
There's so much you can just, you know, talk about.
But
you know,
like I said,
apparently drug before the fight as well was another rumor.
But no, take nothing away from Andy Ruiz Jr., mate.
Going to chill with the Mexican president as well. Fair play to him.
Viva la Mexico.
Viva la Mexico, yeah. You mentioned Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. I've obviously told you what Andre Ward thought about Anthony Joshua's defeat to Andy Ruiz. Well, obviously, it's only fair that we, you know, bring in what Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury said. Deontay Wilder tweeted after the fight he wasn't a true champion. His whole career was consisted of lies, contradictions and gifts. Facts, and now we know he was running from who. # till this day. Tyson Fury said this on Twitter. We have our back and forths, but Anthony Joshua changes stars through life. Heavyweight boxing, these things happen. Rest up, recover, regroup, and come again. But then obviously he had a few more things to say.
Slightly different tone to Deontay Wilder's earlier tweet. But
Deontay Wilder's got a lot of stick for supposedly ducking Anthony Joshua.
Let's not forget what Dillian White said as well. That was quite supportive
Dillian White
as well.
had a few things to say as well, but you know
what I mean?
You would expect the rest of the heavyweight division to like jump on this shocking defeat.
Everyone's got to say.
Hopefully this doesn't. Well, it could potentially damage the chances of the fights with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. But
for now, I think.
What's next? Is the rematch the right move, or because I personally think the rematch isn't going anywhere. I personally think get a warm-up fight in just to build some confidence back, work on a few things, the defence, the stamina, the fitness, maybe lose a few pounds as well. I think maybe a warm-up fight should be the answer next. What do you think?
I think they've got to have a sit-down and have a chat. You know, the management, the training, what went wrong, how could we, you know, that was an emphatic loss. It wasn't like a points decision, you know, it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
There is no ifs and buts about it. So that's something that they've got to analyse. That's where there is that going to that rematch. Now, I just want to talk about another fighter, David Price.
Yeah.
Now, he was on the hype. He was the next big thing. He was the heir to Lennox Lewis and being the next British champion maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he came up against a Tony Thompson.
Well, legend.
Tony Thompson was there too.
If you watch Tony Thompson, one of his interviews about talking about having sex with his wife after a fight, and
But it's interesting what Price said about that loss. That he rushed. It was a rush. It was like an instant decision. His ego and pride had been dented heavily. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously Joshua was a lot further on. He's had world titles that he's lost as a result. But it's interesting, the mindset of a boxer, who's so used to winning and winning well, to suddenly lose, it's, let me just take a moment and just work out my next move. It's a game of chess now, because this person has
it's all about smart moves.
So, yeah, he said he went into that fight, and we saw what the result was there after that fight. The rematch, and it was in same spectacular fashion.
I mean, rematches, they never really work out the way everyone expects them to. Like, everyone is expecting Anthony Joshua to knock out Andy Ruiz in the rematch. A lot of people expected David Haye to beat Tony Bellew in the rematch. It doesn't, doesn't always. Everyone expected, Golovkin to beat Canelo, and it didn't happen, even though, regardless of what you make of the decision.
Let's rewind back to another shock in boxing, heavyweight boxing, Lennox Lewis and Rahman, and he caught him with a sweet of a punch.
Are we talking about number one or
number one? But during that fight, Lennox Lewis was in control. It was that slip of concentration.
Isn't this a pure example and a classic case of this is heavyweight boxing? One punch changes everything.
But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. The point I was making, Lennox Lewis was in control of that fight. You're winning that. All you need to do is carry on doing what he does. But Joshua was nowhere in from round 1 to round 7 where it had been stopped.
Do you know what the funny thing is? I had Andy Ruiz winning 5 of them rounds.
But the point was, Joshua just couldn't work him out. He was trying to use that distance.
It's not easy trying to when you've got to change your tactics. When you're preparing for one fight,
so
and you've got to go to another one.
Well. Yeah. In terms of boxing wise, I mean, knockout, he got knocked out cleanly 4 times to 1. But the boxing as well, that's something that would have been a bit of a saving grace for Joshua. He could have taken a lot more positives out of that. Yes, despite the end result anyway. But that's something that they got to consider. They need to change the game plan.
There's a lot of hard work to be done.
And like we said earlier, he struggles against compact fighters, shorter than him. We see that with Takam. We saw that with Povetkin. We've seen that now with Andy Ruiz Jr. There's something that stylistically that he needs to work on. We know in his sparring he got dropped by. I mean, this is rumours we're hearing. Obviously, we're not confirmed yet. But Caballo, you mentioned
before the fight,
and there was another fighter who had lost his last 3 fights, but yet he dropped AJ a few times. That's what I'm hearing as well. So it's something.
There's a lot to work on.
Yeah.
But there's also obviously a lot of unanswered questions, and I think as fight fans we deserve to know the truth. Was Anthony Joshua? Did he have a panic attack leading into that fight? Was he drugged, or was he concussed? These are answers that fight fans deserve to know. I mean, let's not. I mean, forget us for a second. I mean, there's fans that flew out there to see this fight. This massive occasion in boxing, AJ's American debut, and then obviously for them to hear these rumours flying around the next day. If I was one of those that flew out and I just heard that Anthony Joshua was not right going to that fight, I'd be absolutely livid.
I mean, look, he's not hid behind it. So he's taken it like a man. I think that's something that we got to admire and respect.
Yeah.
He can be easy where you can say, "Oh, this was wrong, that wasn't wrong." There was an air of invincibility about Joshua. You could easily just say, "Yeah, I'm going to use this as." I mean, the same thing happened with Nazim Hamid when he lost that first time
against Barrera.
You know what I mean? But there's all that stories came about him not being able to make weight
before the fight,
and he wasn't in good shape and problems So do you know what I mean? It could easily happen, but. The most important thing is how AJ responds. And what the positive signs I'm seeing him saying that this is where the hard work starts.
100%.
You know what I mean? I love that attitude.
Every true champion has come back from a defeat. Muhammad Ali's done it in the past. Every true champion does come back from a defeat. We want to obviously know your guys' thoughts as well in the comment sections. What do you think the main reason to Anthony Joshua's defeat was? Just quick roundup of the undercard. It was a massive, mixed night for the Matchroom and the UK fighters start off with Joshua Buatsi, another brilliant performance. A guy that's going to go places. I can see Joshua Buatsi becoming a world champion. How far off before he is fighting the likes of a Bivol or a Baturbiev, or maybe even the likes of your Marcus Browns or perhaps Badu Jackson? Of course, that big fight with Anthony Yarde that the British public would love to see.
I mean, first things first, well done to him on his performance against Perry Ban. Perry Ban is a very experienced fighter.
Yes.
He's been in with high-level operators himself, so that will stand him in good stead going forward from there on in. So he's highly rated, and I'm glad they didn't make that match up with Anthony Yarde. It just would have been too soon. And let's I've got high hopes with the both of them. I hope Yarde comes around well against
Kovalev when
Kovalev.
It does get announced. Frank Warren, come on, we need some
absolutely.
answers, Frank.
But let's get that kind of fight in the future, in a few years down the line, where they both got something they're fighting for.
Yes, Josh Kelly. Got a draw. Could that be probably the best thing that's happened to him? Because a lot of people, think he's too much of a show off, too flamboyant, focusing on rather looking good than getting results. Ron,
I mean, with Josh Kelly, please stay the way you are. That's what makes you exciting to watch.
His selling point.
Absolutely unique USP. I love that hands down style kind of fighter. We loved when Nazim Mohammed did it, and in Spectacular Fight. I think it's just the level. It was quite a step up to what he's fought in before. He was fighting British, European level kind of fighters, and he was, doing an outstanding job. So, but I think he won that fight. But they disagree. Let's do a rematch. In England, could we see a same undercard that we've seen in this Matchroom have put on in Wembley? Let's just say
Tommy Coyle lost to Chris Algieri. Is this kind of like the end of the road for Tommy Coyle, or can you perhaps see any sort of?
I felt for him. I felt for him. It was a very dogged performance. He stood there. He was up very quickly when he got dropped in the round 2. I think it was, or 3. And you could see that frustration where his team thought you've had enough. He's been
It's
fantastic.
tough for Tommy Coyle.
He's been fantastic. He's given a lot to British boxing.
He's a warrior. Credit to him, but obviously just on the night didn't go the way he wanted. Katie Taylor, the new undisputed champion of the world. Lots of question marks surrounding that fight. Ron, I'm going to ask you simple yes or no. Right decision?
No. I think Pasoon was fantastic, and you can see at the end of the fight, she was just distraught. She left the ring without kind of stopping and talking to the media. That's how strongly I felt about it as well. And it was echoed by Sky Sports. Paulie Malignaggi said, Pasoon, no one disagreed with him. And when the results were out, just absolutely.
It was tough. It was tough to take.
Yeah,
this is obviously happening too often.
Take nothing away from Katie Taylor for her performance as well.
New undisputed champion. She's been a breath of fresh air, and she's really helped women boxing rise.
Absolutely, in Ireland, she's done that country proud. Olympic champion, and then she turned to the pros. 13-0 now, and undisputed. But I would like to see that rematch.
Yeah.
I think she's going to right that wrong. She's won that, she's won it. Fair play.
Now she's got to, she's going to be the hunted rather than the hunter.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So yeah,
a win for Callum Smith, retained his world title.
He's a superstar.
He's fantastic. He's fantastic. Ron, there's so many options out there for Mundo. As he goes by, there's a potential big fight with Billy Joe Saunders, but then there's the chance of moving on to there's greatness out there. The fights with Golovkin, Canelo. You look at what Eddie Hearn's got with Anthony Joshua. Do you not question why has he not pushed Callum Smith that way as well? Because we're talking about a world champion here, a winner of the World Boxing Super Series.
Well, he's now come onto the scene. He's gone very quiet in his career. You know what I mean? He's quietly gone about his work. The Smith brothers, they're like a dynasty in British boxing. So he's the youngest one, and they always highlighted him as the best fighter at all the brothers.
What's next for Callum Smith? Well, as a fan, what do you want to see?
So,
do you fancy the Billy Joe Saunders fight?
See, I'd rather see him going up. I mean, Billy Joe Saunders would have
rumours
to blow
are
up.
that apparently he's going to move up to light heavyweight.
I think he wants to clean up to where he is at the moment, because there's plenty of fights there. The fight against BJS, it depends on what weight it is. I think he's too big for him, Billy Joe Saunders, we saw his last fight live, and he's exciting to watch as well. Very skillful. He's got amazing boxing IQ. He's up there with the Furies. But no, and not for me at the moment. I wouldn't make that fight. I mean, BJS has got. I mean, he's got other fights there, but we won't talk about that. But maybe the Golovkin fight, the Canelo fight.
Anfield.
I mean,
How many
Anfield.
European champions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen. Very tough night of boxing. Tough for all boxing fans to take. Didn't go the way everyone thought it would have. But that's all we've got time for episode 4 of the Lights Out Boxing Podcast. Ron, just want to thank you very much for your time today, mate.
It's been a pleasure.
It's a pleasure having you on. And don't forget to join us next week when we move on to episode 5. We'll be discussing a massive night of boxing to look forward to, starting off in Leeds when Josh Warrington defends his IBF featherweight title of the world against the challenger Kid Galahad. And we've also got Tyson Fury back in America in Las Vegas as he takes on Thomas Schwartz. Okay, we want to thank you guys for listening to our podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're following us on all social media. Links are in the description below. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to episode 4 of the Lights Out Boxing Podcast.